I'm Behzod Abduraimov, a pianist, and this is Living the Creative Life.
Behzod, thank you so much for joining me here with this project, and I understand that you're, in fact, familiar with the series.
Thank you for having me. It's a big pleasure.
A few months ago, you came to my hometown of Champaign-Urbana, Illinois, the Cranrett Center, and you were with the Chicago Symphony, and it was Tchaikovsky's first concerto. I was given kindly by the director there a first row seat, so here's the piano, and I'm right there. I didn't want to be a distraction, but what impressed me, it seemed like you reached a flow state pretty quickly. Was that your experience of that performance?
I remember I was super jet lagged, but as soon as you hear the first three notes of Tchaikovsky 1, you get inspired by music. It's as simple as that, and it just carries you. Don't think about anything, you're just in the music.
How do you get into this state where you don't really have to think about it too much?
Our mind, human mind and brain is an amazing thing, no matter how jet lagged you are or tired or not in the mood, but you go on stage, you know that at a certain day, at a certain hour, you're going on stage and you have to deliver. You have to. It's a big responsibility, obviously. Those people came to listen, and you just do it. I think some with some special help comes from somewhere, and then obviously inspiration from music itself.
Tchaikovsky First obviously is a piece that we have heard so many times, it's been recorded so many times, and you've recorded it as well. Let's say that it's within a season, your 10th, 15th, or 20th performance of it. What about the ways to keep it fresh for you, so that it feels like you're not just repeating your version of it or your interpretation of it, but that it's still an active, breathing metabolism?
That's the most fascinating thing about classical music, that you look at the same score and you find new details, new things, and which I still, first time I played that concerto, I was 12 years old, back home in Tashkent. And since then, I'm not sure, maybe 200 times I've performed it. And each time is a little bit different. Again, you just set yourself, and it's just going. It's the big, the dangerous part is to never be on autopilot, and otherwise music is not alive.
What are some of the ways that you can use to work on consistency in general?
Well, to keep yourself in a good shape is to practice, but. And to listen also, and record yourself and listen. That is very helpful as well. You're immediately on the spot, and then here worked and not. It improves, your playing a lot, in my opinion. But otherwise, to keep that daily routine and practices, maybe not necessarily long hours, but consistently, every day. But there are, of course, during a year I have some time off, and then I don't practice at all. I don't even open the lid of the piano, just to rest myself, and also kind of recuperate the emotions that we are musicians. We give a lot of emotions. That's all. That not just physical, but emotionally you can be tired. You can be tired more, actually, emotionally than physically. So there are some periods a year where I try not to think about it and just relax myself and just distract myself from music.
I'm so glad that you brought up the subject of rest, because I'm looking at the calendar, the performance calendars of many young musicians, and it seems like there either isn't time to rest, or they don't want to, or, is in the life of a young performer and always seeking bigger opportunities, if that's the goal, how can you decide if you can take some time off, or when it's necessary?
As you know, piano repertoire is infinite. So you have to develop as a musician. And I started gradually building, you know, maybe I started back then with 15 concerts a year, 20, and then I remember some years I played around 100 or over 100 concerts a year. So now I'm not sure. I don't really count. Maybe 60, 70 concerts, and I block at least one period a year, maybe a month, just for myself.
Let's say you're preparing for your recital in Carnegie Hall.
Yeah.
What would you do to help yourself feel comfortable leading up to that?
Well, if it's a new program, I mean, relatively new program, I try to schedule concerts before recitals with the same program, maybe some smaller places, and because it's a part of the learning yourself and learning the repertoire. I mean, you find new things and new elements, and then maybe after 5, 6 or 8, 10 times you go on stage, you have more confidence. If you look at, for example, great Richter, he used to play at factories, he used to play at kazarms, he used to play at villages, anywhere on upright piano. He would give full recitals. Can you imagine, with some maybe even missing keys?
Missing keys.
Before he would go and play, I don't know, big places, Moscow or Paris or London, even him. So it is a natural way, I think, to prepare yourself for big stage.
Maybe there's one evening, maybe there's an extended period where you feel like things didn't go so well. Are you good at forgiving yourself for this? Do you see it as a part of a bigger picture? Do you feel disappointed if there's a performance which you didn't like of your own?
Yes, there will be definitely some disappointment, but life goes on and you don't stop. You continue. What happened, that happened. And as, you know, great Vladimir Horowitz used to say, said, why does everybody expect me to be perfect? Perfection itself is an imperfection. So, I mean, I would listen to his recordings. You know, there are maybe some technical imperfections, but who cares? But I get this feeling, I immerse myself, I'm in a different world. You know, I find so many things. And for example, Kreisleriana, I think he was live from Berlin Concerthaus, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, it was later in his life.
Yeah, there are some things that didn't go too well technically, but it's fine. But musically, I was speechless when I first heard that recording, for example.
We've talked so much about the subject of facing pressure and calming the nerves, which is, for all the musicians who I've spoken to, this seems to be almost everybody. Our friend Thema Bronfman was talking about this a lot. Do you feel like becoming better at living together with these nerves? Is there a way to handle that?
I think it's a paradox. In our profession, there is definitely a thing called experience, but also there's no experience, because each time you go, almost not maybe first time, but especially with the new program, with the new repertoire, yes, you have some experience maybe how to get the sound of the piano, but you always find new things in yourself with new pieces. It's a paradox. So yes, with experience, but also not really. It's so fresh. It's like first time.
What about this long list of places you've played, the big halls, the big festivals? Here we are at Verbier Festival. I heard you with Chicago Symphony. Did these steps feel just so gradual that it felt normal for you, or it felt like a big deal and that you had to learn to just not think of it? Here I am playing Tchaikovsky 1 with Chicago Symphony. You know, let's silence all of this.
Well, no, of course, I'm very grateful for those opportunities playing with Chicago Symphony, but I always say that I prepare and I try the same, no matter where I play. If I play in Salina, Kansas, or I play at Carnegie Hall, or London, or Amsterdam, because we are playing for people. People are the same everywhere. So, yes, you might feel more pressure playing in the famous concert hall or with some big orchestra, big maestro, but you just prepare as usual.
How about confidence? Where does that come from? And is it just experience, or is that a feeling which we can somehow foster through mindset?
Confidence, I think it's something unexplainable. It's just something if you have it or not.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you mean confidence of the interpretation of what you're doing?
Everything.
Yeah.
Confidence of your interpretation, confidence walking on stage.
I think that would be noticeable when you are, I don't know, when you just start, when you're 5 years old or 6 years old. You can already see that, okay, has something special, that something cannot be learned.
Were you always confident?
No, it's I am. No, there is in order to have that. I mean, it doesn't mean that you cannot just prepare and just go and play and feel confident. Of course not. You work hard, as you know. You learn. You educate yourself. You test yourself, and that confidence comes. Yeah.
We're faced with a career of deadlines and tours, just keeping all the notes organized so that they're already on time. Do you ever have a moment where you sit down to the piano and you're not thinking about what you need to do, but you're just sitting down to play for your own enjoyment?
It used to happen more often.
Yeah, you had to think about that for a little bit.
Yes. When actually those blocked periods of time that I mentioned before, so maybe after a week I sit down and I just play for myself. Mm-hmm. And then I feel the most comfortable, actually, because it's just for me, and because we have all these deadlines, etc. And sometimes I was in some extreme situations when I had to learn, for example, Prokofiev Second Piano Concerto in 3 weeks.
In 3 weeks.
I had to practice 9-10 hours a day, from scratch, learning. It's a lot of. It's a complicated piece of music. It's one of my favorite concertos, but and when there is a deadline, it's it can be quite nerve-wracking.
Mm-hmm. So I'm curious about this because I know that this is absolutely one of the most difficult concertos. I studied it as well. And you know that there is a difficult task like this, a Mount Everest. What's your first approach to taking on a project like this? Do you just try to cover the notes on a memory level? Are you studying the score? Are you just trying to take some sections and learn those individually?
I've heard that piece many times, and I know it, but of course, since the writing is so complicated, so my approach was to target the cadenza, the fourth movement, the hardest spots, and then you learn along the way everything. So you spend more time on more challenging places. Yeah.
And is the memorization of that, is that something which happens on its own, or you're methodically actually trying to commit these things to memory?
It's both, I think. But I want to also mention that I don't want to say that I'm proud of myself that I learned in 3 weeks Prokofiev 2. That's not the best way to do things. But sometimes you are in the situation and you do it. It's fine. It's especially big pieces, they need time. They need time to grow, to develop, Even as I mentioned, the greatest artists, they played a lot before bringing on big stage any piece. It takes time. It's a process.
I want to address the subject of where you're from. So Tashkent, Uzbekistan. I've never been to Uzbekistan. I have met Fema Bronfman, who is also from Tashkent. What's the musical life there like, and how important is it for you to represent the music from your country and culture?
The tradition of Western classical music came mostly during the Second World War, when Leningrad Conservatory was evacuated to Tashkent. A lot of musicians and professors came to Tashkent during 1941 and 45. Many of them, they remained in Tashkent because they like the climate, they like the food, and it's a very friendly country. And that's how we benefited, all the tradition of Russian piano school, which later, became so-called Uzbek piano school, because we have a lot of musicians coming from Tashkent. Now I can say there's big interest, there are a lot of talents, there's curiosity, and there is quite a good concert life that's happening in Tashkent.
What about composers who are active there? I think you have played some music from Uzbekistan.
Yes.
You recorded something recently.
Yes, I've included my latest album, Shadows of My Ancestors, a piece by Uzbek composer Dilaram Saidaminova. She's still living in Tashkent. I saw her a couple of months ago, called The Ancient Walls of Bukhara, of the great city of Bukhara. When I heard that, the recording of that music, I was really mesmerized. I thought, wow, because I didn't know until recently. I thought I would like to play that. It's, of course, in her style of writing, since she had training, I mean, she studied in Moscow, you can maybe hear some influence from Shostakovich and Prokofiev and some modernism. But the most important part is that she could give this Eastern flavor, Eastern atmosphere of the ancient civilizations of that region. So that's why I was very eager to bring it to the Western listeners, something from very personal from the place I come from.
Besa, thank you so much for joining me with this conversation. It's a pleasure, and it's really great to catch you in different countries and different cities and to have the privilege to hear you play.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Thank you for being here.